Good afternoon, America. Those watching from the East Coast to the West Coast, you are here with two of your favorite people in the world, Mr. Tom King, and I am Mr. Terrence Stevens. And we are recording an episode, yet another episode of The Business of Life in Black and White. If you've been watching, being tuned in, you know exactly what we're here for. But those of us who don't, just a guy from the mortgage world and a guy from the real estate world, blending our lives into one as we talk about the topics that most of you ask us about on a daily basis. So I think that's what we're going to do today, Tom, right?
Yes, sir. How you doing,
What's the
buddy?
topic, what's the topic for today?
Topic for today. Well, this time of year on especially on my side of the fence and a little bit on yours, property taxes are a hot topic. Most of the Atlanta metro counties, which is where most of our listeners, I think, come from, the tax bills are due end of October-ish. So lots that go into the tax bills and lots of questions that we get, whether it's on the past client side or as you and I just found out, and we'll kind of dive down that road. But man, when you're looking to buy a house, how important it can be to look at what that current tax bill is too. So
Yeah.
just lots of stuff that I think would be good to nerd out a little bit and give some information to some folks that are out there.
Yeah. This just actually reminded me, and I think maybe while you're on the topic, we just had a client asking about the tax bill as a home that they purchased, and the seller did not have a mortgage on the house. And so there was a little confusion based on the timeline of when the purchase was on who paid the tax bill, who was responsible, where'd the money go. And we found out that the tax bill was paid by the attorney for the seller, or in this case, for the new buyer, either way you want to look at it. But the monies that were due based on the current tax bill were split by the attorney in accordance to who owned the house and when. So it was a learning lesson for me.
Yeah.
Typically, you'll have people buy homes that sellers own and still have a mortgage on them. But when you don't have a mortgage on your home, you are responsible for paying your own tax bill directly because you don't have an escrow account. So I think sometimes that makes the difference as well when it comes to tax bills, when they're due and who's paying them. When you've got a mortgage, the escrow is paying, and when you don't, you are paying out of pocket.
Yep, and that's one of the great things about the way real estate in Georgia is done, right? It's a mandatory attorney state, so all closings have to take place at an attorney's office or via an attorney, and it's the attorney's responsibility. The buyer cannot purchase a house with an outstanding tax bill. So if there was no mortgage and the seller has an outstanding tax bill, the attorney has to clear that tax bill as part of the closing. So
And they're able to
somebody
do
has to.
that. They're able to do that just out of curiosity. And for those who don't know, they're able to do that with the proceeds of the sale. So even if you have an outstanding tax bill and you're looking to sell your house, maybe your taxes have just gone out too high and you're no longer able to afford those. We see that happening a lot. And we may see that happening more as a lot of development is happening in Atlanta and the surrounding counties. You're able to pay the tax bill through the proceeds of the closing to clear the title for the next owner.
Yep. That's a good point, and a slight tangent, but the amount of things that you can pay at closing, whether you're the buyer or the seller, I think is pretty unusual, the unknown, right? I don't think most people realize. I mean, how many countless times have you and I had a client where, whether they wanted to or they had to, right? Hey, your debt to income ratio is a little bit too high. At closing, we're going to pay off these 2 credit cards that you have. So in addition to your down payment, you're going to bring an extra, whatever, 2, 10, 20 grand, and the closing attorney is going to physically write a check to your American Express with that money and mail it in for you. And by doing so, we didn't have to count that debt against you. And that's how we got you to the closing table. So it's kind of cool. You can, I had a buddy who wanted to pay off his truck when his sold. So he sold his house and used his down payment, but then same thing, the attorney just wired some money directly to pay off his truck. Right. So yeah, great thing when you're the seller. If you're going to have all that money, you've got some options.
Might as well use it. Yeah, might as well use it for paying off debt, which a lot of people do use proceeds for.
Yep. So I think the main question we get, and a good place to start, is just on the mortgage side. A lot of our past clients, this is the time of year where I feel a call every single day of, hey, I just got my tax bill in the mail. I thought it was part of my mortgage. like, I get it, and there's no judgment here whatsoever, but this super simple answer is yes, but it's your house and they want you to know what your tax bill is, right? So you're just getting a copy. The mortgage company got a copy too, and the mortgage company's going to pay the bill if you have an escrow account, but you're always going to get a copy of that tax bill. And it's a great thing to keep an eye on, right? I've got some clients that are super diligent who watch that tax bill every year. And as soon as they get it, they call me and they say, okay, what does this mean? My taxes went up, $800 this year. How is that going to affect my mortgage payment,
I
right?
asked the question the first 3 years.
Yep. So it's just relevant. It's a good thing to keep an eye on. No, you don't have to pay it, but hey, in this environment, in the last 5-6 years, or whatever it's been, right? House values have gone up so much, your taxes are going to go up. I pick on you all the time for bitching and moaning about how much you got to pay the IRS, and constantly reminding you the more you pay the IRS, that means the more money you made. So you really shouldn't complain about it, right? Same thing with your house, dude. Like, I remember the one time when my tax bills went way down. You know what else happened? The value of my house was way less than the mortgage I had on it. And I damn near lost everything I had because the world economy crapped the bed because we had a catastrophic event, right? So yeah, your taxes are going to go up a few $100s each year. Kind of is what it is, but not something to look down on by any stretch.
And on that note, it's one of the things to mention. There used to be this really poor sales tactic. Why do you continue to rent? Your mortgage will never change, but your rent will. In reality, it's newsflash, a lot of people lied to you. Your mortgage always has the opportunity to change, but it's not the principal and interest piece of your mortgage. That will stay the same unless you refinance at any point. But it is indeed the change of any insurance, increase or decrease, but typically we'll only see an increase. And that is your homeowner's insurance. And secondly, your tax bill has one of the biggest effects on affordability and the overall monthly mortgage that you're paying. And so it's important to note, if that tax bill is going to increase, then your escrow account, which holds your taxes in it, will have to increase as well, ultimately affecting your payment. Your mortgage payment can change. And typically, I hate to say this, but your mortgage payment goes up, it means the value of your house is going up as well. It is a catch-22.
Yep. And you make a good point about homeowners insurance, and not to go too far off a tangent from the taxes, but you hit it right on the head, right? Homeowners insurance. I mean, I've got some buddies that run insurance agencies. I love them. There's nothing wrong with those people. The good folks doing a good job, running good businesses, and insurance will go up every single year. And it's, in my opinion, right? It's a tactic by these huge companies. They're just going to keep raising your insurance every year until you cry wolf, right? And hold their feet to the fire. They're going to keep marginally increasing your homeowner's insurance the longer you're a client, right? You've got to continue to shop that after you get it every couple of years, because it'll just kind of run away from you if you're not paying attention.
That's a good note.
Yeah, and then another thing, just real quick to touch on something you said. A lot of people, again, kind of switching gears to the buyer's side of this thing, as they're going to buy a new house, we get this all the time. Oh, well, when I did the payment calculator on Zillow, the internet, whatever, it only said the payment was going to be this much, right? Yes, but the stupid website you did that payment calculator on has no idea what the property taxes of the house you're looking at are. I do, because I looked it up in the tax system and I know how much they are, right? So when you're estimating stuff like that and trying to get some information, that escrow account's a complete unknown for the interweb.
Yeah, for the interwebs, huh?
Yeah.
Somebody asked me just the other day, how reliable is the payment calculator? And I go, don't.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not. But when you work with somebody when you work with somebody, and this is a no. I mean, I'm probably going to send this video to so many people because it's very relevant to your point. This is a no for anybody buying a house, right? The person that you choose to work your numbers, okay? Mortgage, lender, whatever we want to call them, okay? Somebody related to your mortgage has to be able to provide you right now estimates, not what it was 3 days ago, not what it was 2 months ago, not what my pre-approval said. Right now, this house that we're talking about in specific, because if they do, you have a way more comprehensible idea of what that payment, those taxes, your estimated closing costs, you name it, everything. But if you are using the internet to make estimations and guesstimations, you will 9 times out of 10 be completely disappointed when the final number arrives. And so please pay attention, not to our internet sources that give you this information and say, here, take it, and usually get you excited by the numbers. They're leaving things out, and you don't want to be surprised, I promise, at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not going to badmouth them too much because we're one of their biggest clients in the Southeast, but it's on the other side of the coin. The Quicken folks, I mean, that used to be kind of one of their shticks, is you'd call and get pre-approved. They'd tell you you're approved, but they would not issue you an estimate under any circumstance. You had to agree to do business with them before they would show you the numbers, right? There's a reason for that, right? If somebody can't be transparent up front. I mean, frankly, it's not that hard to put the numbers together anyway. So if you can't, get it at the drop of a hat, then there's probably something else going on there. And same thing with the taxes, right? If somebody doesn't have the ability or the time and effort to look up how much the property taxes are on the specific house you're interested in, and instead they're just using some kind of ballpark, like, dude, is that really somebody you want to get in bed and fool around with? You need somebody that's going to be a little more diligent than that. So
yeah. So tell me a little bit more, Tom. I think again,
good transition. I think let's talk about the purchase stuff. You and I just had a fun conversation before this about a funny one we're working on, but I think what I say ad nauseum on all my interviews with clients is remind them that property taxes, especially in Metro Atlanta, can vary widely, greatly, dramatically, whatever you want to refer to it as. I mean, literally 100%. And again, you and I just had the perfect example of this. You've got some folks that were you tell that part of the story. Tell us what this.
Yeah, I literally have a new client that is a client couple, and they're looking in the Atlanta, DeKalb County, Decatur, Tucker. They're looking in a few other places, but situationally, we found 2 houses which are a stone's throw away from each other. But the issue is, one of them is the city of Tucker, and one of them is the city of Atlanta. One being unincorporated DeKalb County, and one being Fulton County. And when I say a stone's throw, I mean here and here. Okay,
same neighborhood, right?
Street. And there is double the tax bill on one of these properties, which essentially leaves my client out of qualification on one of these houses, but just right down the street, the other that they can qualify for. It is news I still haven't even delivered yet. I'm going to have to, but it now gives us certain parameters to look within and make sure that we have what we need when it comes to understanding the tax bills in these homes.
Yeah. I think most people just kind of slap an estimate of taxes in their pre-approval and think that they're done. But if you're kind of at that debt to income ratio threshold, which these folks are, you really got to pay attention to what the property taxes are. There's a lot of counties that are the same way. You hit on the most important one, the unincorporated deal, right? You go unincorporated Cobb County, right? Our old house was unincorporated Cobb County, but we were technically city of Roswell, whereas the next neighborhood over, right, is paying Fulton County taxes. So you really just got to pay close attention. If you're close on the debt to income ratio, hopefully your mortgage guy has kind of alluded to that to you and set the stage of, hey, yes, we can get you, whatever this purchase price is, but if you find a house at that purchase price that has exorbitantly high taxes, you're going to have an issue. So it's just something you really got to pay attention to. Don't gloss over it. Taxes are super important, and again, can be drastically different.
And let me interject, right? The worst thing you want to do is fall in love with a property. This is why having done your due diligence about any property before you really fall in love with it is extremely important. I know there have been a lot of changes within the real estate industry, and making my life or the life of many buyers agents and seller agents a lot harder. But I think it is, as we listen and learn through some of these things, I need you as a client to understand I have your best interest in mind. I have your best interest in mind. So the process that I've developed to make sure that you don't come 45 days down the line and find out you can't afford that home or that county or that school system that you've been desiring, I'm going to save you a lot of time and headache. But if you don't buy into the process and understanding the details and working with the right people, you're leading yourself to disaster. And that's not the situation we want on our, I told somebody last night, I love to sleep at night. I really do. Now, do I always sleep at night? No, but I love to sleep at night because I have not set anybody up to call me in the morning saying, what the hell?
Yeah.
Makes me sleep.
Yeah, you got two totally different sides to this business, right? You've got the internet side of the business, which is how vague and how little information can I provide and still procure the business. And then you've got our side of the business, which is looking at the sophistication of the clients nowadays and the amount of information that's available online. The smarter and more informed client we get, the better off we are.
Yeah.
Right? Easier the transaction is when the client has done a little bit of research or is really asking questions and diving in and listening to what we're saying, right? The more information they have, the better off we are, not the worse off. So
Yeah.
As far as buying right now too, the other thing with the tax bills being due has a huge impact on your escrow account as far as your closing costs. So when you buy this time of year, right? I mean, gosh, we have escrow conversations every day in what we do, right? Most people have a really hard time understanding how the tax escrow is set up at closing because it's fairly confusing, right? Your property taxes are paid in the rears. So the tax bill that's getting paid right now is for all of 2024, which is basically over, right? As opposed to your insurance, which you're always paying a year ahead. So if you think about it, when you close on a house right before the tax bill gets paid, your first mortgage payment's going to come and the tax bill is going to be due in full, and you haven't set aside a single payment worth of escrow. So the mortgage company has to put the whole year's worth of escrow into the deal in order to get that bill paid as soon as it comes due. Now the seller's going to give you a big credit for their portion of the year to get you there, but it's still going to be a big number. Whereas if you close on a house right after the bill gets paid, say the first week in November, you've only got to put like 3 months of taxes into your escrow account instead of 12, right? So it's a lot cheaper closing cost wise this time of year to buy a house for that reason.
You know that client we were just talking about, I think there's two where they would love
Oh,
to
yeah.
hear the
Yeah, that's a
message.
good point. Yep.
That is exactly what I was asking for earlier. Like,
Yep.
what are
I
some of
wasn't
these
smart enough.
changes?
I wasn't good enough to give it to you on the spot, but
Yeah, I mean, geez, you just gave it to me though.
yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is just what you hit on with the unincorporated stuff. I mean, it's, those folks to go from a $4,500 tax bill to an $8,500 tax bill in the exact same neighborhood, right? And there's a lot like that up by our old house in Cobb County. I mean, again, you can be there's neighborhoods that are on the line where you go from unincorporated to not, or from Fulton to Cobb, or from Cherokee to Cobb, right? There's just a huge difference there, and you really got to pay attention to what it is.
Yeah, love that. All right, I think it's time for your funky question.
Man, I thought of something earlier and now I forgot what it was.
I got to see your son, who I have adored since I've met him now, and this has been 2016. We're going on 8 years, right? And I've been having a lot of different thoughts of parenting, and essentially I think this might touch a little bit on our last week's question, but right now, with all the things that are going on in the world, right? What does parenthood really, I talked to one of our clients earlier, and I asked people when they wake up and when they get to the gym, if they are gym goers in the morning, like when they wake up and then when they actually get to the gym, because we all have things we have to get done. But I had a client respond back to me, and she just had a newborn, or might be one, right? Okay. And she goes, I wake up at 4:15 in the gym by 5:25. And now I'm hearing like minutes, and I'm like,
yeah.
it's like I'm back by 6:35, 6:45, just to make his lunch and his snack. And I'm like, you literally have to do this because you're a parent, right? You're a superhuman. I couldn't imagine. So as your kids are now transitioning to get older, right? What is the thing that you're looking forward to the most, as you will soon become an empty nester?
Well, I'm gonna talk out loud as I think this through.
Okay.
I mean, in stages, right? Carly is a sophomore at the University of Alabama. Parenting wise, we definitely have had the philosophy of, we've kind of done everything we can and we did the best job we could, and hopefully it turns out okay. And she's a great kid and she's turned out exceptionally well. I'm so proud of her and she's just so mature and responsible. Anyway, so we made the decision at homecoming of her senior year in high school to allow her to drink alcohol at our house. We took everybody's keys. We made sure everybody's parents knew. We set it up, I think, very responsibly. But we made the argumentable, whatever you want to call it, the debatable decision of letting our child, drink alcohol. So from that point forward, we knew that was part of what she's off in college, right? We know she drinks. And long answer then is I have really enjoyed, like, the 2 times we've been to Tuscaloosa to visit her now, and we're going this weekend for the big homecoming game. It's kind of fun to move to that stage of friendship, and
Yeah.
have to be so worried and forceful and not have to be her teacher or her coach, but you can kind of be more of her teammate. And that's been super fun for her and for us. Again, because she's mature. Dom will be a little bit.
Wow.
He's already pushing the envelope.
Sadly.
But for me, it's going to be more about, and it always has been, I guess, now that I think about it. For me, he's an idiot in a lot of ways. We're all boys, like we were all idiots. It's a lot of fun for me to watch him do the things that he's capable of doing. He's far beyond most of his peers in the worldly things that he knows how to navigate and manage, whether it's driving or fixing a boat or, laying sod for the neighbor or fixing his truck or, whatever. He's just got this set of worldly skills that, some of them I taught him, but man, it's a lot of stuff he's figured out on his own. So for me, I think that's it. Just enjoying, like, dude, this kid's going to do some cool stuff. And as long as I can hold my breath during the dumb shit he does, like, it's kind of fun, man. It's kind of just to be proud of him and watch him do this kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
man, I think
And
that's
there's part of me as somebody who doesn't have kids and frankly doesn't know and if they will, haven't even set it up, not even looking to set it up anytime soon, right? There's part of me that does envy those moments that I see in some of my friends who have kids or some of my colleagues who have kids and they're kind of matriculating through and I look at myself who the most worries I have are my dog and like when am I going to go out the country the next time? So it's such a different lifestyle, but I do identify with like my mom did a damn good job at raising me and then she got to go live her life, right? And or we lived lives together and very intersectingly. So bravo to you, man. I know again, I've been around for quite some time. I've seen these kids grow up. They're phenomenal. But you keep holding your breath. Okay.
their mama deserves a credit on that one. And it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what we do, once because he's definitely going to be gone. I mean, that kid, he's got no issues being by himself and being out in the middle of nowhere, whatever. Like he's out, I'm sure. As soon as he graduates high school, he's doing something.
He's taking a Euro trip. Dom is like,
Yeah.
Dad, I'm going on a Euro trip for 3 months. I see it happening already. Like,
I don't know what we're gonna do, man. It'll be interesting. We've already had some struggles because he's kind of out and about all the time anyway, working and stuff, and we're seemingly empty nesters on a regular basis anyway. So we definitely have got a lot of figuring out to do, and
yeah.
I don't know what that's gonna look like, but it's gonna take some work.
I can't wait.
Harder than I thought.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Well, look, this has been the end. And again, we appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to do a better job at posting these things. I think there's so much good quality information that we share, and really just perspective on how to look at this thing from a wide-eyed lens and not one that's too focused in on what you know, but what you should know. So, thank you, Tom, as always. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Later, everybody.